We're doing a request one today, and I have but one question for Marvel. Why the hell do you hate Alex Summers so much? I mean, seriously, I have covered some traumatized characters in the past, but this one took the cake. Thank you for requesting this because, damn, this was an interesting one to research. So yeah, we're going to be covering Alex Summers today, aka Havok. While reading up on this character, I even give a certain section a name, the Trauma Train. So all aboard this ride because it's going to get messy. Choo choo! I love doing these little breakdowns and going deeper into their motives and beliefs. I'm excited to share my ramblings with you and would appreciate any support by giving this video a like or subscribing for future content. As always, here's how we'll break it down. Their story arc and the key moments that shaped them, their personality types and why it fits them so perfectly, and the traumas, wounds, and experiences that drive their behavior. Now we know who Scott Summers is. Can't talk about the X-Men without him. Some might think of Gabriel or Vulcan, the long-lost brother who became one of the most dangerous mutants in the galaxy. But between those two is Alex Summers, better known as Havok, a mutant who has been defined by trauma, manipulation, unstable power, guilt, and the constant struggle to step out of his brother's shadow. Havok is not just Cyclops' brother. He is one of Marvel's most tragic examples of what happens when someone has unbelievable power, but very little control over his own life. Firstly, to understand just how powerful he is, Havok is classified as an alpha-level mutant. That means he possesses vast, highly destructive offensive capabilities and is strong enough to pose global threats, but unlike top-tier Omega levels like Magneto or Jean Grey, his powers are uncontrolled or can be stopped in certain ways. His main ability is ambient energy conversion. He absorbs cosmic energy into the cells of his body and converts it into plasma. He can then release that energy in destructive blasts, usually shown with his iconic concentric circle visual effect. His abilities include absorbing cosmic radiation, releasing plasma blasts, creating powerful concussion bursts, surviving extreme heat and radiation, absorbing energy from sources like stars, using energy propulsion to fly, and resisting Cyclops' optic blasts. He even survives being thrown into a star. But his powers come with a major weakness: control. It's a Summers weakness, I know. Anyway, let's get into the history. Major plane crash, he and Scott are thrown into an orphanage in Nebraska that is run by an evil guy named Mr. Sinister, who becomes obsessed with the Summers boys and their powers, and then separated to make it easier for Sinister to manipulate Scott specifically. So Alex was adopted by the Blanding family, while Scott remained behind. Not to add to the already traumatic childhood incident, but the Blanding family adopted Alex to replace their son Todd, who had died in a car accident. It was not a good situation for poor Alex. The man who had been responsible for Todd's death kidnapped Alex and his foster sister, Haley Blanding. Under the stress of the situation, Alex's mutant powers manifested for the first time, and he incinerated the man. Mr. Sinister appeared afterwards because, of course, he would take the opportunity to manipulate again. He thought Scott was the more promising Summers brother, but Alex's raw potential may have been even greater. Joke's on him, because Alex didn't have control over his abilities either. Despite that, Sinister placed psychic blocks on both Alex and Haley, making them forget the entire event. Let's just give him all that trauma before adulthood, why don't we? Years later, Alex grew up and studied geophysics at Old Landon College. Then Alex became connected to a man named Ahmet Abdul, also known as the Living Pharaoh. Abdul had been altered using Alex's DNA, thanks to Apocalypse and Mr. Sinister. Because of this, Abdul and Alex shared a strange psychic link. Both could absorb and transform cosmic radiation, but Alex's body was blocking Abdul from fully accessing his power. Abdul captured Alex and took him to Egypt, and after some weird science, Abdul was able to use that power to transform into the gigantic and powerful living monolith. During this, Alex's own powers fully surfaced. His body began releasing uncontrollable waves of destructive energy. This brought him into direct contact with the X-Men and his brother Scott. Soon after, Alex was captured by Sentinels and taken to Larry Trask. Trask gave him the codename Havok and placed him in a special costume that monitored the buildup of cosmic energy in his body. The name stuck, and he became Havok. After being rescued, Alex returned with the X-Men to Xavier's School for Gifted Youngsters, where he began training to control his powers. Eventually, Havok became skilled enough to release his energy when he chose, instead of only during stressful moments. This is also where he met Lorna Dane, also known as Polaris, the most healthy relationship in his life. During one of the X-Men's darker eras, Alex and Lorna were living in New Mexico, where they discovered a brood star shark and tried to warn the X-Men about it. Well, they're not available right now because of some other issue going on, and Storm even asks Psylocke to wipe any memory of the X-Men in Alex's brain to keep them safe. Xavier, who taught him to repel that shit because trauma, blocked most of it and ended up having nightmares instead. But if you figured out the pattern here, there is no stopping this trauma train. So here we go. Choo-choo! More trauma! At some point, Lorna was possessed by the psychic entity Malice, who used her body and tormented Alex with the fact that he couldn't save her. This won't be the last woman that traumatizes him either. One of the most complicated and damaging relationships Alex has is Madeline Pryor. Madeline was the clone of Jean Grey created by Mr. Sinister. She had married Scott Summers and had a child with him, but after Jean Grey returned, Scott abandoned Madeline. At this point, Alex was already emotionally vulnerable. Lorna was possessed by Malice, and Alex felt isolated and helpless. Madeline seduced him, and the two began an affair. Then, Madeline transforms into the Goblin Queen during the Inferno storyline. Havok became her Goblin Prince, and Madeline manipulated the conflict between Cyclops and Havok. Alex accused Scott of abandoning his wife when she needed him most. And this guy was so into it. Look at this costume choice. There is no way you're not going to stick with somebody and have this costume. This was a choice for him. Madeline eventually died during the conflict while trying to sacrifice her son for more power. But don't worry, she'll play a role in many of his problems. She'll be back. After dying, living in an alternate universe where he's happy for like 5 minutes and then betrayed again by Madeline Pryor, he's brought back to Genosha. Then M-Day happens, which is a whole other thing with Scarlet Witch, and half the mutant population loses their powers. One of those individuals would be Polaris. Around the same time, Vulcan, or Alex's younger brother, comes back into the picture and kills their father, who we thought was dead, but was actually a space pirate. Now he's really dead. Vulcan blasts Havok into a sun, which then he absorbs, gets captured, and has to hear Polaris' screams, and escapes, saves them, and becomes a spelljammer. And no, not the D&D version. There is a lot more in between where he becomes the leader of X-Force, finds Madeline Pryor again, and breaking up with Polaris, gets turned into a zombie, and then back to normal, and finally leaves Madeline Pryor for good. Is that enough trauma for you? With all of this out there, what kind of man does this build with that kind of history? Alex Summers is considered ISFP, our first for the series. They're called the Adventurer. Gentle, sensitive, nurturing, helpful, flexible, and realistic. Personal environments are beautiful and practical. To quote a popular ISFP musician, Bob Dylan, I change during the course of a day. I wake and I'm one person, and when I go to sleep, I know for certain I'm somebody else. ISFP stands for introverted, sensing, feeling, and perceiving. ISFP people use life like a canvas, where it's in how they dress or how they act. They tend to be the most interesting people you'll ever meet and move through life uplifting others and encouraging them to be their best selves. A lot of times, they think they're just being who they are, nothing special, when in reality, they don't realize how amazing they really are. They're adaptive, take days as they come, and live for the unexpected or have a spur-of-the-moment kind of life. So basically, you take Scott and replace the thinking portion and throw the feeling in there. Where Scott is all about logic and order, Alex is more like, whatever happens, happens. In relationships, they're warm and friendly, caring and giving their whole heart. They're able to pick up on others' feelings pretty quick, very empathetic. They're accepting and forgiving, and with our boy Alex here, they can lead to a lot of rough patches in life. But he always chooses the forgiving and the passionate route, which is so ISFP of him. So is giving them a second chance, which bites him in the ass more times than I can count, or him probably. So how does this fit Havok? The man is a passionate, loving mess. Everywhere he goes, hurt follows no matter how hard he works to make things better. So let's see each letter. Introverted. Despite his brother being the leader of the X-Men, Alex doesn't seek the spotlight. He could have easily taken the place next to Scott and become another face for the X-Men to the public, but he doesn't. He's defined by internal conflicts rather than outward leadership. He deals with things quietly. After he joins the X-Men and finds love with Polaris, he chooses to move with her to New Mexico and study geophysics together. Fame? Nah. Quiet life sounds way better. Sensing. He's not a big picture kind of guy. He's tactical like his brothers, reacting to the immediate circumstance rather than thinking of the longer situation. If someone's causing problems? Let's stop it now, tactically and quietly, then we can figure out the rest. Feeling. This man thinks with emotions to the highest degree. Everything that happens to him is because he feels so deeply. His love of Polaris, finding his father was alive after all this time, and Madeline? Jeez, Madeline. She's a whole mess on her own, but he stays with her because he feels so deeply for her. It's a Summers curse to not have, yet crave, control. But it's also a curse for them to love anyone with the Jean Grey DNA. Every conflict has deep roots in his ability to love and cherish those around him. Perceiving. He never sticks with one team. He goes where he's needed. X Factor, Spelljammers, The Six, Brotherhood of Mutants. He gets around. But I guess that's what happens when you move around so much even as a kid. Staying at an orphanage, then going to a shitty family, then the X-Men and school. It's a lot of moving, and not a lot of relationships being built while he's at it. Now we get to the strengths and weaknesses. As always, we start with the strengths, because a man who's gone through so much garbage is pretty damn strong. Resilience. He's survived his parents dying at a young age, deprogramming, alternate timeline messes, and identity loss multiple times. Even then, at the end of it all, he's still standing tall and walking. Going through all of that with Madeline Pryor and getting her back, dying, coming back, he chooses himself for once and walks away from the toxicity and chooses growth. Good for him. Empathy. Again, everything he does is for other people. He genuinely cares about the people around him and wants to help in any way he can. Polaris, Madeline, his various teams, the list goes on. He's empathetic to the point that it hurts. Literally. Independent. He refuses to be a puppet, even if he's been turned into one multiple times. It's not by choice. Each time he fights it. The only time he chooses to be used is when he becomes the Goblin Prince. And frankly, would you tell this woman no? I didn't think so. Courage under pressure. Despite being in a crisis, he's got courage. He goes up against his brother Vulcan, even when he gets thrown into a sun. He continues to fight the fight, even after all the manipulation and hurt. He still gets back out there and does what he thinks is right, which is helping others. And with strengths, of course, comes weaknesses, because going through that much pain and hurt will give you some problems. Identity diffusion. Being the younger brother of Scott Summers gives you a Loki complex, always living in the shadows of the bigger, better brother. He's never just Alex Summers. He's Scott's brother, Vulcan's brother, the other Summers. Poor guy never gets a break. He even gets the clone version of Jean Grey, not the real thing. Self-sabotage. Even if he's doing it because he loves someone or feels the need to save others, he leaves. And sometimes I don't blame him. He finds a healthy relationship with Polaris, but all the bad shit happens and destroys that for him, so he goes to Madeline. And Madeline is her own messed up self. He knows he shouldn't stay with her, but he chooses her anyway. He leaves teams when things get hard. He never gets comfortable somewhere. Resentment. This man carries more deep, unresolved scars than I have ever seen. And I have done Spider-Man. The sibling rivalry, the lack of family, the love of his life betraying or being hurt around him. Life sucks, man. It's hard not to be resentful. Susceptibility to control. He has been mind-controlled more than the Winter Soldier. How does that feel? And it's not because he's weak or anything. It's because he gets into these situations in the first place, not by choice. He's shoved into an orphanage run by a maniac, put into a family that has some unresolved issues with their son, and his powers draw those kind of people near. He just can't get away from it. His trauma runs throughout his entire life. His parents die at a young age, giving him survivor's guilt and separation issues. He's separated from the only family he thinks he has left and given to a family that thinks of him as their deceased son. He's been mind-controlled and manipulated multiple times by strangers and people who claim to love him. He's lived through alternate realities where he thinks he can finally be happy, only to have the rug yanked out from under him and more manipulation. Can this guy get some slack, Marvel? Like, can we get a series where he's just happy and lives somewhere nice and enjoys his geophysics? I'd read that just to see him happy for once. But that is Alex Summers, or Havok. Like Cyclops, his power is tied to trauma. But where Scott's lack of control is often treated as a physical injury from his head, Alex's instability is often portrayed as an emotional and psychological one. He's not the clean, disciplined leader that Cyclops is. He's not the cosmic conqueror that Vulcan became. Alex Summers is kind of in the middle, like he's the middle brother. His entire life has been shaped by other people's decisions. His parents were taken by the Shi'ar, Mr. Sinister has manipulated his childhood, his memories were erased, his powers were exploited, his relationships were twisted by possession, cloning, and trauma. His body and mind were repeatedly altered by outside forces. And yet, Havok keeps trying to do the right thing. Alex Summers is a man who wants peace, but keeps getting drafted into war. He wants love, but he keeps finding manipulation. He wants identity, but is constantly compared to Cyclops or used as a pawn by people like Sinister, Apocalypse, or Madeline Pryor. Cyclops knows who he is, even when he's wrong. Havok is still trying to figure that out. As always, if you like what we do, smash the like button, subscribe for more Marvel Monday breakdowns, and hit the bell so you never miss an episode. Thanks for sticking it out until the end, and we'll catch you on the next episode.